Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk and ELT. Is me, and I'm going to be talking to freelancers. Here we go, teachers. So, what to charge and how to know what you're worth? Well, I don't like to put monetary values on humans or, you know, individuals. However, we are providing services. So I am very comfortable as a capitalist to put a number on my service value. So that's what we can think of it as. So many times when I'm dealing with mentees, they're like, well, how much do you charge? Listen, I can charge a certain amount depending on several factors. So and my personal factors, I'll just be very honest about it because I don't really care. My personal factors might vary from yours. I'm married. Let's start this whole conversation with I'm married. I've been married for, oh gosh, we've been together for at least 20 years now. We have a house. My husband has paid off the house. When I moved to Brazil, I never had to pay rent because he already owned the house. We do not have children. We have dogs who are floating around here. One of them is, who turn into be expensive children, but I don't have the monthly cost of diapers or food or clothes or school. I've just got kibble and the occasional treat from the butcher's the butcher shop. I am both myself and my husband are very frugal. We don't have a high cost of living, and we have him as an income. We have my income, and he also has one revenue source as passive income. Now, that means because he, thank goodness, is just he's an awesome husband, and he was very, how do I say this? Prepared into marriage because he takes care of a lot of things and I contribute, but it's very much partnership. And that made it easy for me to be more selective as my career went on. In the beginning, I was working when I got here in Brazil, it was 2011. I was working for 25 reais per hour. That's right, 25. And then it bumped up to 35 when I was working per hour, when I was working for school because I was the head teacher. And then that moved to, after a couple of years, working privately, freelancing. And I was charging between anywhere from, and this was probably around 2017, 18. 17, 18, yeah, 2017, 18. I was charging anywhere from 50 to 85 reais per hour. I live in the countryside of São Paulo. I don't live in the capital. So the salaries are more modest here. And then over the course of Pandemic Specializations, my CELTA, personalizing a lot of courses, allowing students to tell me exactly what they want. Right now, I can charge between 150 and 200 per hour per class. When it comes to reais, this is reais, by the way. So you can do the calculation into whatever currency that you want. And then when I do training for teachers, its lowest it goes is 200 per hour if it's like a series of hours, but more often than not, it's like 250 to 400 depending on what the project is and depending on how much time I'm going to have to spend prepping things. So you can kind of see more or less what I'm making. Do the calculations out if you want. How did I get there? Which is not, and to be honest, it's relatively, with the inflation that we have in Brazil, it's actually relatively modest. It's not so much because you have to think I'm not working 40 hours a week. Like I have times that I'm working and then I have times that I'm prepping and developing things. So yeah, it balances out. So that's in terms of private teaching and having like private sessions or training sessions with teachers. That's more or less what what I charge. In CELTAs, you receive lots of different ways. You can have a proposed, you're going to work on this course and you'll be available these days, and here's what we're going to pay you. Like it's going to be X. I've received that from centers. I've received from other centers that they have like a scale. So it depends on how many candidates are within the course. And then the scale goes up or down depending if you're the assistant course tutor or a main course tutor. And then I've worked and working at centers that pay per hour. So you get the hours that you're live with the students or with the candidates. And then you get some admin hours because we have to correct papers and things like that. On average, I do part-time courses mostly. I don't do the intensive courses because I have other things going on, so it doesn't really fit into my schedule. But the part-time courses, you'll get anywhere between 900 to 1,200 euros for an entire course if you're like an assistant course student, like for the entire course. Or you can get somewhere around like 25 euros per hour ish, assistant course tutor, not the main course tutor. It depends. Yeah. So so on average, that's how much money I make depending on what I'm doing. If you translate the euros to reais, it's pretty much I make anytime I'm live teaching or doing something, I'm making between 150 to 200 per hour. That's what I make. Qualification wise, so I came to Brazil with a bachelor's degree in business. Then once I got here, I did my CELTA. I did the advanced methodology course from International House. I did my Delta, and then I've done other little, the little micro credential type of things. I'm obviously a CELTA tutor, and I do mostly specialized courses. So I deal with adults, one-to-one classes, so private VIP classes. This is now, I worked at school. So before I was doing like, when I first got here, I worked as a consultant for a school, and I would go into the companies and I worked with individuals or pairs of students, and I just got the flat rate per hour. When I went to the school, again, flat rate per hour. I worked with kids from 6 years old to adults 65 plus, so I worked with everybody, and those were all groups. There was some VIP people that came in, they paid more to the school, and I got paid the same amount per hour. So it was always good for them. And then after that, I've always been working privately individual classes. So that's kind of how it works and how much I make. To be honest, I'm pretty transparent. I don't really care if people know how much I make, because if you want to have classes with me, if you want to do teacher training with me, if you ask any of my students, they're going to tell you exactly that. So that's money, how much I'm bringing in. Then people ask, well, I'm going to charge that much. Good for you. Good. If Kelly can find students and teachers that pay that much, then I'm going to find teachers and students that pay that much. Cool. Go for it. Here's the thing. I built up my business over a decade, like during the course of a couple decades. So there's a lot of people that I know. There's a lot of people that then recommend their friends. There's people that come to me with very specific things because they know that I've helped a person that they know. They're like, oh, okay, you can help me with this. So then I help them with that. There's people that just kind of hang out with me for a few years because they're just building confidence and like they really like having a chat and learning some new things. So I've got kind of this little band of hooligans of people that tend to have classes with me, and that's cool. And then they usually recommend their friends and things like that. So I have my own private network, but they know exactly what they get with me. First of all, I never stop working. Ever. Ever. I literally never stop working. I'm constantly working. Or I'm always thinking about work and stuff like that. Two, people come to me and teachers, school owners, and students, and they say, I want this. And I say, okay. And then I go through the whole process of like, how can I make this effective? How, like, pedagogical principles, what can I do here? How can I create something? What is it going to look like in terms of time and structure and blah, blah, blah. But everyone that comes to me knows that they can tell me, they boss me around. They can tell me exactly what they want, and I provide that service. So I charge more because I know that I have to create everything, and then I deliver that. And it seems to have been working out so far. I can give you for example. There's a school owner. I've worked with him, gosh, I think it's been like 2 or 3 years now. He'll pop out of nowhere, lovely person, pop out of nowhere and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing like an outside training. Would you want to do a training with my people? Sure. And then he says, here's a problem that I'm having with some of the teachers in the school. And then I have to solve the problem. So I'm like, okay, so what are you looking for here? And I try to figure out exactly the style and what the person is looking for. And then I create a training for the group. And then I create all of the materials, I record it, I send it to them, and it goes into their bank of resources. And so this is the thing that allows me, I think, to charge a little bit more per hour, because people can come to me and say, I want to do this, and then I have to figure it out. But I'm confident in my abilities to figure it out. You know, I know what I bring to the table, so I'm okay with that. I mean, it comes from all sorts of things where it's like I'm working with students on just kind of regular general English courses and bringing them up to speed and trying to get them there a little bit quicker in their time frames, to executives that ask me, hey, I need to do submissions for international conferences. Can you help me with sounding more natural? Yeah. Which then turned into social media creation of content for social media. It goes off in various directions. And I've got students that are most of the students are like executives, and we have sometimes mini therapy sessions where it's like, here's what's going on in the company, and I have to take that and then I have to create stuff for them based on that. Which is like a whole kind of like dog me style and then traditional task-based classes. Yeah, but that's how it is. I don't have set materials. I don't have set schedules for the general English people. Yeah, like I kind of, follow the things that I've created over the years, but everything else is new week, new projects. So, no, when I'm talking about prices, so now you know all about me and how much I charge and all money factors. So that's good. But freelance teachers sometimes want to offer lower classes to, fill in the enrollments. You can offer lower rates. That's fine. My dog's awake. You can offer lower rates. The problem with offering lower rates is that when people go price hunting, if they find someone cheaper than you, they will bail. So if they are only coming to you because you offer the cheapest price and they don't buy into the services that you're offering them, they're going to bail. The same thing with if you offer services at higher prices. If you say, I charge 200 an hour, which is actually totally reasonable in São Paulo, like in the capital city. And we say, I charge 200 an hour. Okay. But a person that's going to give you 200 an hour needs to have results. So if you don't deliver results, and if they don't understand some of the metrics that you use, or some of the goals that they need to be achieving, and that it takes a little bit of time, they're also going to bail. So pricing yourself, I would say, if you're starting out, start in the middle of the road, and then you can kind of figure out where you want to go from there. The other thing about pricing, now that you're an entrepreneur, is that you have cost. I work from home. I have the cost of internet. I have the cost of air conditioning because it is too damn hot in Brazil to not have air conditioning. So I've got it, like, I can't, if I get hot and I'm sitting at my desk, I'm going to get grumpy. Like, hangry when someone is hungry and then they get angry. I also have that, but like, I need to be well fed, and I need to be, there's two things about me that you have to know. I need to be well fed, well hydrated. So food and drink are always welcome. I mean, I probably should cut down on the food and focus more on the drink based on physical appearance. It's fine. And also, I get not nice if I'm too warm. So you need to climate control, Kelly, always. and then I'm just going to be pleasant and nice, and we can figure everything out. So I have those costs. I also have a company. So I have here in Brazil, a CNPJ. I have the whole thing. With the open firm company, then you also need to pay for accountants, and you have to pay taxes on top of it, depending on if you're a MEI or if you're a microempresa. I'm a microempresa, so I pay a percentage off the top, which then I have to calculate into the fees that I charge people. And then if if you have employees, if you've got I literally just have my whole setup, my laptop and everything else, and that's it. This is as fancy as it goes. So I don't have a huge cost, huge expenditures here. I do it out of my home. I don't pay rent on my home. We own the home. So there's a lot of things that for me, I can negotiate with people if they need to drop a price down because they're going to do, a longer term type of thing. I'm more than willing to negotiate with people. But those are my standard prices. And then from there, we negotiate. But I know exactly until what point I can negotiate because of all of the fixed costs that I have. Other things that teachers need to consider, because sometimes teachers just like, well, this is what people are charging. Well, you gotta factor in, why are people charging that? Do they have rent? Do they have utilities and bills like water, electricity, things like that? Where are you going to be working at? If you're working from home most of the time, if you still have to pay your rent there as well. Or if you're going to like co-working spaces where it's a more flexible plan, so you don't have to pay for rent all the time, like every month, a fixed rent of a office or a space. Subscriptions. So while there's a lot of subscriptions out there that are pretty cost effective for teachers in terms of getting materials, subscriptions add up. The other thing that I pay for pretty yearly and monthly charges for is I have my own website. With my own website, I pay for the domain every year. And then also I pay for extra storage on my Google Drive. I'm a Google girl, so I use Google Meet, Google Calendar. Everything is Google for me. What else do I have in terms of costs? I said paying the accountant, right? So paying an accountant, doing your tax returns, and issuing the nota fiscal if you need to issue like official receipts here in Brazil, we have to. Those are the monthly ones. And then personal development stuff. So if I go to, for example, São Paulo because there's a workshop or things like that, all of the cost of travel on me. And then if you decide to, like if you're working with a certain materials, for example, if you're working with children, I highly recommend that you do adopt materials, not create your own. Children, there's a lot of information that you have to be very well aware of to develop materials for young learners. So, for example, young learners and teens, test prep, all of those things. So then you have to make an investment, probably an initial investment on the teacher's books, for yourself, and the student books and workbooks and things like that. And then your students are also going to have that investment. So is that charge of the books, is it embedded into your hourly rate, or is it something that they have to purchase outside of your monthly payments? And then if you have monthly payments with people, then if they have additional charges, how frequent are those additional charges? Because that's something that you probably should put into a contract also. You're probably going to have to pay a lawyer at some point to develop a contract so that you have a contract to protect yourselves and to protect the students so that there's no issues there. You also have to decide on whether or not, so if you close a contract with a person, 3, 6, 12, I don't know, however many months you close with a person, or if you do it by the number of hours that they're contracting or the level that they're paying for. Let's say you have a course that's like a year and a half because that's going to take them through because it has, I don't know, 120 hours or something, whatever. However you decide to do that, are you going to chart, because that is income that you have considered as, yes, this is going to be coming into the business. If it doesn't come into the business, are you going to be charging a fine or some sort of fee for the person to cancel? If you do charge a fine or a fee, is it going to be a percentage off the top of the remaining payments? Is it going to be a flat fee? All of these things you need to take into consideration when you're deciding, how much do I charge per hour? I know all of my costs. I know how much I have to pay for things. I know how much money is going out every month. So I know how much money needs to come in every month. And I also know where I can make some sacrifices and negotiation. Because I've been doing it for quite a few years now. And because I sat down and kind of was like, okay, I need to have like this much to be able to have a standard of living. Because the other thing is, it's not just paying for all these things, but also you have to have a life, right? The other thing that happens, by the way, with private teaching is that in July, December, and January in Brazil is a nightmare. I'm assuming internationally too. Why? July, people cancel. First things that adults do when their children are home is panic, and they say, I can't have classes. Cool. All right. The second thing that they do at the end of the year is like, I'm going to think about it. And they cancel their classes in December, and then they come back at the end of January because kids are back in school and normal routine resumes. And so then they come back to classes. During those periods, where is your income coming from? If you need to compensate for those periods, do you charge more per hour? Knowing that people are probably going to cancel. Or if you're going to be doing the monthly payment route, if you have a monthly payment, are you calculating the monthly payment over 52 weeks or only like 45 weeks? Things you need to consider. I don't know how much you need to live. I don't know how much cost you have. I also don't know your qualifications, your experience, if you have a niche or not. So you have to assess your value comparatively speaking. I know that here in Brazil, there's quite a few people, but it's quite rare to have a full delta. So that means absolutely nothing to students, though. if, if I tell students like I have a full delta, they're like, what is that? We have a Delta supermarket here. Like if I say I have a CELTA, they think it's a car. Like students don't know what that qualification is. Do you have an international qualification? Cool. Like that's all they are not really concerned about it. Experience helps. Qualifications help in the academic community. If you really want to take the time to explain it to your students, then sure you can. But researching in the market, like I said, I charge between 150 to 200 per hour. Again, I'm not working full 40 hours, but like I'm working a decent amount. And it fluctuates too, by the way. Which may seem high for some people, especially if you live in like smaller cities, like the countryside, that's fine. In São Paulo, that's like 200 an hour is pretty normal in the capital, but you come out to like where I am, it's a little bit higher rate. However, the clientele that I have, it's for them, it's normal. And it's okay. But you can kind of research like where is everybody else at? And then if you say, well, if I charge that much where everybody else is at like median of what most people are charging, but I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, then you have to consider, well, you could charge more, but then you're going to have to offer a better service or some sort of differential, or you can try and reduce the cost that you have of your monthly payments of bills or whatever. And then the other thing is that teachers are not very good at communicating their worth. It's funny, we're language teachers, but we don't know how to manipulate language very well sometimes. So one way of communicating that, yes, this is worth it, is for that students need to understand, not academically speaking, but they need to be able to understand what are the benefits and outcomes of working with you as opposed to working with somebody else. This can come in the form of testimonials, or it can come in the form of conversations. It can come usually it comes after a needs analysis and some sort of agreement upon what you're going to be doing, like a learning plan. So, again, I'm not going to tell anybody how much they should be charging. Now you know how much I charge. If it's something similar to that, because again, I'm a practitioner. I stay in the classroom and I stay with teachers training. I am not an academic. I have no aspirations of becoming like a university professor and, books maybe I'll write a book or something like a how-to type of book, but I'm not interested in becoming like the academic. That's never me. So I'm very in the teaching world, just kind of blue collar. Like I'm a teacher and I help teachers. I help other teachers. I train teachers. So very much kind of middle of the road. And I've just accepted that because of my personal circumstances, which are fine for me. But of course, if you have other aspirations and if you're interested in doing other things, I'm letting you know, this is my middle of the road. This is my blue collar practitioner, teacher, just in the classroom. Like this is me. And that's it. She's ready to go. See you later.